In earlier videos, we looked at how to set up the AppBar, how to get into Visual Studio, and how to do background colors. In this video, we're going to start from scratch. And we go to View and select Command Palette, and then Flutter New Project. And this is in Visual Studio Code. And there's an earlier video on that. Here we select a folder to save it in, and then type in a name. Let's call this Demo Basic Functions. And Visual Studio opens up. Demo Basic Functions. Let's go to main.dart. And we see the code here. And this is the standard code that's provided with Flutter. What it does is it provides a counter. Let's run it and take a look at it. And here it is. A white screen with the number 0. You've pushed the button so many times. This function works as we've shown in an earlier video. For now, let's stop this. Close the widget inspector. And then let's delete pretty much everything at the bottom. Oh, I see I missed a few things here. Let's get the last 3 curly brackets there. Now we've deleted everything. And when we try to run, we see error messages at the bottom. And it's saying there's nothing to call. So let's open by creating a Flutter stateless widget. When we do that, it populates a template here. Now we need to align the My widget to be the same as the name at the top, My App, and we can do this one of 2 ways. Either call My App My Widget, or if you want to keep the My App, rename the My widget to My App. And then one more thing, let's go down and remove the placeholder and put in its place MaterialApp. And let's select the widget there. At this point, let's run it and see what we see. Some errors. Let's take a look at the errors. It says that on line 4, I see it's My App, and that My App has a space in it. So it's important that we get the name exactly right. Let's run it again. And we get a blank screen. And it's black. So effectively, the app's been called, but there's nothing being sent to the screen. And the screen shows up as a black screen. Now let's go in and add one other widget. It's under MaterialApp, and that's the Scaffold. All we've done is added the Scaffold widget here. And then let's run it again. And the screen turns white. Now this could be any color as we covered in an earlier video, but this is the beginning. The default setting is a white screen. Now let's comment that out and run it again. And we're back at the black screen. Let's take out the comment and run it one more time. And we're back to the white screen. Now we'll see at the bottom there are some messages that say use constant with constructor. Let's go ahead and add that, and the error message disappears. This is something we can cover in a later video, but for now, this is a good place to start and move into looking at other features like the background color. So here we've added the background color right under Scaffold, and it's turned green. Now behind the green, you can go ahead and add some numbers to select variations of shades. So as you choose larger numbers, the shades become lighter. So here we've got a 200, now we're going to a 300. And now let's add a body. So Scaffold supports background color and it supports body. So once you've selected the body widget here, we're going to choose a container under the body. And to learn what a container is, let's go ahead and add some attributes. Let's give it a height of 400 and a width of, say, 300. And a color so it stands out. And the command for that is colors dot green. There we are, got to get the typo just right. So colors.green. Now let's run it. And there's our box. Now this is a different shade of green, so you can see the box. And the box is situated on the top left corner. Now we can go back to the container and look at some of the other actions. And you can see that's wrap with center. And so that wraps the entire container in the center. And then when we hit run, we can see the containers move to the center. Now this is something good to remember for the next session that we'll cover, where we'll touch at some point on columns. But first, let's add a child to this container. And let's make that a text. And within the text, let's type in MacMingle, or any text you'd like to type in. And run it. And we see the MacMingle right there inside the box. Now let's wrap that with a container. So we're wrapping the child in a container. And within that container, we've got a child with a text mingle. And inside that container, we're going to add another attribute. And that's a style attribute for the text. And that is a text color. Colors.white. And then let's also add font size. Let's pick a font size of 14. And then let's run it. It's turned white. The font size was a little small. Let's make that larger. Let's double it to 28. There. And there's the MacMingle in the larger font. So we can see inside that child container, we've got a number of things that we can control. If you hover over some of these commands, you'll see what the options are. But as an intro, this sets the stage well for what we need to do. But let's say we wanted to center it. What we could do is we could do a center wrap over the widget, and the MacMingle ends up in the center. Let's change that box size back to 300. Now let's look at adding an AppBar. And to do that, we go back up to the scaffold right under background color. We do a carriage return and type in AppBar and use the AppBar widget. And once that widget's opened up, you can go ahead and give it a title. And let's give that a title text called MacMingle. And let's run it. And we see MacMingle in the app bar on the top. But notice how the background's changed from green to white. Let's change the other text to body text so we see the difference. So MacMingle appears in the app bar and body text ends in the container. Now let's go ahead and change the background color for the app bar. We'll keep it slightly different so we can show where that app bar is relative to the rest of the screen. And we'll use a straight green for this. And run it. And we'll use a green shade 400 for this to be different, and then let's run it. And we see the app bar pop up. Now let's see whether we can style the text. And for that we choose style, and then we choose text style. And then within that we select color, and we'll go ahead and select white. Let's also add a font size of 18. And we see the MacMingle has changed to white and the font size is a little smaller. And now it's time to dive into columns. So let's go back to the blank screen with the basic code, the MaterialApp and the scaffold, and the background color of green. And we'll add a body. And within the body, we're going to choose the column widget. Inside the column, we're going to have children, and this will represent each of the items within the column. So the first one is top box. We'll add a comment, and then we'll add a second one that's a bottom box. Let's ignore the squiggly lines for now, the use of constant, etc. So for the first box, we'll create a container. And for the container, we'll give it a height of 200 and a width of also 200. And then let's give it a color so it stands out. Let's pick a color that's pretty contrasting. Let's go with orange. And now let's copy that over to the bottom box. And let's run it. We had an error message, so let's clean it up first and then go back and look at the error messages. It's expecting a token, so let's see what we're missing here. It needs a closing bracket for the container. Okay, we've added the closing bracket and it's fixed. And it's saying it's expecting to find something on line 25. What it really is that it's a comma missing on the line before that. So let's go ahead and add that, and all the error messages are gone. Let's run it. And we see one big orange bar, but we have two boxes. Why can't we see these boxes? Well, let's change the color of the second box, just a shade. And run it again. And now we see the two boxes, but the boxes are located on the top left. We need to be able to position those boxes in different places. So you can have one box, two box, three boxes, as many boxes as you can fit into the real estate. So to position it, we're going to use the main axis alignment widget. Let's select that. And there are a number of options. So main axis alignment. We'll see the center, end, space around, space between, etc. Let's select center and run it. And it centered it down on the screen. Now let's change that and see what other options there are. There's around, between, and evenly. Here we select between, and between pushes it to the far end, so the space in between is evenly spread out, and the objects are at the end of the screen. Now let's try evenly, and evenly puts it so that the boxes are spread evenly on the real estate. Now let's add some text into one of these boxes. The principle applies to the second box too. So on the top box, we add child, and then we add a container widget. And within the container widget, we go ahead and add a child text, text in box 1. And it says, and there's an unnecessary instance of container up here. So let's select that and take it away. So it looks like we don't need a container within a container in this example. So we'll go ahead and just use the child within the container. Let's clean this up. No error messages. Let's go ahead and run it. And there's the text in box 1. And we can use some of the attributes that we used earlier to adjust the text in box 1, to center it, to change the color, the font size, etc. This should provide an introduction to the body within Flutter, though we did touch on the AppBar too. In the next video, we're going to develop an app to calculate the loan payment given a principal and an interest rate. That should be an interesting challenge, and it'll take me a little time to figure it out. Thanks so much for watching.